Hello developers, welcome to my video series on the Microsoft Flight Simulator add-on workflow. Today we're going to continue with the process of making an aircraft add-on, and we'll add more interior animations and make them work in the sim. We're using the SDK documentation, specifically the how to create an aircraft section, and we'll continue with that process. We will be adding interior animations such as levers and multi-state switches. In the previous episode, part 1, we made simple rocker switches with on and off positions, etc. You should be familiar with what we did from part 1. In this episode, we'll just do levers like the gear lever and cabin heat, air, parking brake, and some multi-state switches. So the mag switches with the on-off, left, right, both start, and some levers, throttle lever, gear lever, etc. And we'll be doing that. We're going to leave knobs and needle gauges for a future episode. We'll be using the interior XML again and utilize the Asobo interior templates. And so we'll do the passenger lever cabin air templates and cabin heat templates first. And I'll briefly show you how we get the node IDs and animation IDs as we go through and look at each of the different templates that we will be adding to our project. We'll add the cabin heat and air levers. It's an animation similar to switches. We can just add a few keyframes and that'll help slow down the animation. Plus it gives us the ability to make more complicated levers like the gear lever that we can see in the documentation. It's got movement, double movement here, so we have a little lever to move first, then we move it down, then we close it or lock it in position. So we'll need a number of keyframes in this type of gear lever. So we'll start expanding the number of keyframes. But first, let's look at what we've got from the DA62. We had our passenger lever cabin air, passenger lever cabin heat. And they had animation names. I think they had switches and other things. I'm going to use passenger lever cabin air _1 and passenger lever cabin heat #1. Where did I get those? Well, I got them from the Asobo templates. Where would you think that the passenger templates would be? Well, they'll be in the passenger template name that Asobo has. You can either use WinGrep to find something about the passengers and search for it. I just happen to know that the key for the name of the XML is usually second after Asobo. So we have the Asobo templates here, cabin heat, and we have lever cabin heat. So this template is the template that we use in our interior lever cabin heat. So lever cabin heat now calls cabin heat with the interaction type of lever, and then cabin heat calls the GT helper suffix ID. This is where the _1 comes in, utilizing the sub template, and the sub template then has the information associated with the node ID and animation name. These are a bit different than the switches, as they have an interaction type of lever. We don't have a button, so we can get rid of that. The tooltips are standard tooltips. We then use the passenger cabin base template, and the base template is down here. And similarly, cabin heat, cabin air, all utilize that same template with cabin heat underscore as the input event ID. And I'm not going to go into that detail, but basically input events are the way that templates handle mouse rectangles. So you're coming from FSX, you know what a mouse rectangle is. Well, the input events help you solve that so that you don't have to go nuts with the mouse rectangle code. Then we have input source is passenger, switch here. It's not a switch with interaction type. The interaction type is lever. So the difference between switch and lever, they use a position for a switch, and a lever uses an axis information. And then later on, it will use increment, decrement parameters. Then it gets into a lot more complications. The only thing that we are interested in is the naming of the node ID and animation ID. So it's passenger, lever, cabin air underscore 1, which is what we have in our Blender file. Passenger, lever, cabin heat underscore 1, and we have a node of the same name. So let's build or export first our interior and build it in the sim. So each lever now moves continuously. And if I can find my mouse here, hello mouse, where are you? There we are. We can drag the lever up, and you see 100%, so you can put the lever in a certain position. This one's a little bit jerky, so maybe what we need to do is add more keyframes. I only put 3 keyframes in there, and that's getting a little difficult. What happens if we add more keyframes to it? So in Blender, I had 0, then I had keyframe run, which is the same rest position. Keyframe 2 was halfway, keyframe 3 was all the way up. So let's get rid of that. And I gotta drop it down and exit out. Edit, and remove animation data. I like to clean it up a little bit also. Remove that dead data. So let's start here. I, rotation, I, rotation. And then I'll just move this in the global x-axis, or x, and let's see how far. I'll make it go to 0, I, rotation, x, I'll make it go 20, I, rotation, then 40, I, rotation, and Rx, another 20, I, rotation, Rx, another 20, kind of really pushes it up there, I, rotation, and remember to keep that name the same, so it just does that. I'm using Blender 3.3.12 and the Asobo exporter 1.3.3. So we'll do the same thing for that. Back to 0. Force it down. Exit out. remove that. I rotation, I rotation. And here I had it at 0, did I? Yeah, same as that. So I rotation RX20, I rotation X20. So we'll make sure we save that, and we'll export and build it in the sim. Now let's see when we move the levers. That's a little bit better. I think I've got too much of a space between the 0 keyframe and the first one. It gets a little jerky, but I think it's a lot easier to move when you have more keyframes. It just makes it that much better for the sim to do the interpolation between the keyframes. So that seems to be work. Okay, let's do some other levers. I'm going to do the throttle, prop, and mixture. And if you look at them here, sorry. So add some mixture knob, and we got the stem. We should really make those one item. So I'm going to that, and then pick that, Control J, oops, Control J, did that, and that, Control J, that, Control J. So a throttle, it's not a lever that goes up and down like the cabin air. You have to push and pull this one. So let's make sure that we have the origin to geometry, object, origin to geometry, and object, origin to geometry. I just want to be able to move these in a Y direction. So if I go G, Y, there, that's what you got. How much do we need? That's good enough. G, Y. And remember, the more keyframes, the better. So if we and this is not a rotation, it's a location. I move it to there, location, G, Y. How far are we going to go? Let's see, GY 0.01. No. Enter, no. Oh, what happened? Not nice at all. Wonder if it's because I got that. Yeah. Sometimes if you have this open and you do something dumb in those settings, you'll get an error and that blocks. So all you have to do is press return inside this. I always have that open. So I must have used comma. Okay. R, not R. GY 0.01. Nope, can't do that at all. Am I doing this right? So why can't I get that going? Boy, that's taken a while. So that's what I did for the throttle. Okay, so what name are we going to give the throttle? Well, we'll have to figure that out based on what we used for the throttle in here. So where would the throttle be? Electrical, de-ice, passenger, no. Gear, no. Flaps, panel, overhead, engine, throttle, levers. So Zobo engine, lever, throttle should be in the engine template. So our Asobo engine throttle lever template is here, but we have no prop template and we have no mixture template. Well, that's because we copied this from the DA62, and that's got a FADEC or computer controlled engine, and it doesn't have a mixture and it doesn't have a prop. It does that all by computer. We're going to have to find an aircraft that has both. And what we have is we have the Bonanza G36. So the default aircraft for the Bonanza G36 has a prop. So we can copy that. I'm going to put that over in my interior here. And just going to plop that in here for now. And what else do we have? We need a mixture. Where's the mixture? Down here. Look at that, it's under fuel. So we have a mixture lever also in the fuel area. So I'm going to copy that. Put that back here. Should I put it in the fuel pedestal? Oh, fuel lever mixture. Oh, we already had one in here. Any real difference? Part ID. I will leave that one. Control. Okay, leave that one here. So we have a fuel mixture template, and we have a prop one. And all I have, yeah, I only have one of those. So we need to do that. We got to find the engine lever, Asobo template. I only had one engine this time, so I really don't need the second one. So I can get rid of that. So we have a engine lever and a prop lever. So the engine lever, prop lever are both in the engine template. So I have that somewhere, engine template. So we have throttle, and we have lever throttle, propeller control subtemplate. So let's use the lever, which uses the engine throttle, which has an interaction type lever, goes to here, goes to the engine throttle subtemplate, and our engine throttle subtemplate is here, and we're looking for node ID and animation ID here. So similar to the cabin air, cabin heat, we give those a proper name. So here is the ID node 1, and this is a lever. And we're going to name this object instead of throttle stem, engine lever throttle. Save. So we'll only do that. This will be similar, just naming the parts, and I'm going to let you do that. I won't bore you with the details because it's basically exactly the same. So we're going to build or export again and build in the sim, and we'll have the prop or the engine throttle, the prop, and the mixture levers all working. So did you get it to work? So just added the prop and the mixture from the throttle. So I did that, and I can kind of tell that it's worked because my aircraft is spawned on the runway and the prop is already full forward and the mixture is already full forward. My prop is at 0 or idle. And if I move my throttle peripheral, my throttle works, my prop works, and my mixture works. So I hope you got that done. How did I find all the pieces again? Basically, just getting to the animation node ID information from all the templates. Searching and finding these templates is not too difficult, but I should do a whole episode on just exactly what's happening here. And I'll probably do that next time. So now we have all of the engine components working. We need a parking brake, gear lever, and flaps. I already started. So we'll do flaps, parking brake, and gear. And I think that's about all. As far as the levers are today, we'll do yokes and knobs and other things at a later date. Let's do the gear lever first because that's basically just a switch. It's gear up or gear down. So it's just a switch that, not really a rocker, that will combine everything again and give it the proper name. So I've got gear stem together. If we zoom in on this, it's not really where I want kind of want it to be over there. So what I'll do is I'll go into edit mode, and I should turn that off. I'll isolate this whole thing, and I want the rotation to be somewhere in there. So I'm going to add another loop cut and make it there. I've selected that. Shift S, cursor to selected, get out of the edit mode, selection to no, cursor to selected. And what I want to do is move the origin to the 3D cursor. Not the other way. Can I get that? No. Okay, let's do. I can't remember this. Cursor to selected, that's right. Get out of edit mode. Then I want origin, set origin to 3D cursor. That's better. Now it can get out. There we go. So if I do this RX, there we go. Let's leave that there in the up position. I rotation, I rotation, RX, and I'll put it down, I rotation. So what's the gear? Back to our interior stuff, done our engine, fuel, landing gear lever. There we are. We had one of those. Landing gear lever, gear template, landing gear lights. So internal lights we have to do, light unsafe. So landing gear lever, where would it be? It would be in the landing gear template. Did I pull that out already? There we are, landing gear. So landing gear lever calls the landing gear with the interaction type. That landing gear subtemplate goes to here. We open up subtemplate, and look at that, it doesn't have any of those special hashtags. So landing gear lever is all we need to do for this. And so there we go, landing gear lever. See if that works. We'll also play with the flaps. Now the flaps are a lever again. However, the flaps have to go in a better way. The flaps would have to just go to different positions. We have an up, we would have an X, we would have a middle point, and then we would have a down. I'm only going to do up, take off, landing flaps, so only 3 positions. So that would be here. So, oops. Rotation, that's better. RX. And if I put it there, oops, not yet. One more. I rotation, RX, midpoint, I rotation, and RX flaps down, I rotation. So handling lever flaps, because I've already started that. So back to our interior model, and we have the flaps somewhere. Do I, please? There we are, flaps. They are handling flaps, so they'll be in the handling one. So handling flaps lever. Oh boy, lots of handling. Okay, handling lever flaps, head right to the sub-template. Handling flaps sub-template. And here we have, oh, that's the lights. Handling flaps. Case is a lever, so in our case it's a lever. Handling lever has button, so the flaps are a little more complicated. We don't have a button. It's just handling lever flaps. And back to Blender, handling lever flaps, which is correct, and handling lever flaps also. So we did flaps and we did gear, parking brake. Okay, let's do parking brake 2. Back to our interior. We have parking. It's all a blur now, so I can't see anything. Landing gear. So our parking brake is in the landing gear template. Come on, mouse, don't go nutty on me now. The sim does something with the mouse. I don't know what it does. You know, landing gear. No. Should have been using that all the time. So, parking brake. Parking brake is a switch. How about another parking brake? Parking brake knob. Oh, so what have I got? Oh, we're going to use it as a switch. Okay. We're just going to use landing gear, parking brake component, but I'm going to use the switch version. Gear. So landing gear switch, interaction type is switch, landing gear parking brake template. Put that in here. They put a regular template without calling it a subtemplate. Landing gear parking brake template. Didn't call it subtemplate. Interesting. So lots of information here, and we're trying to find animation names and node ID. So landing gear switch parking brake. Copy. So that guy parking brake, I'm going to go. It's a switch this time. See how easy this stuff is? Yeah. So what am I going to do with this switch? If I push it in, it will be on or off. Should I rotate it? What should I do? R, oops. R, Y, I know. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to try this. It's going to be rotation and location. I, location and rotation. R, X, minus 90. Oop. R, Y, minus 90. Then I'm going to go I, location, rotation. R, no, I'm not going to rotate it this time. G, Y, minus 0.01. Remember, the more the better. I, location, rotation. Gy minus 0.01. Hey. Minus 0.01. It's better. Must have used the comma again. I, rotation, location. Gy minus 0.01. I, location, rotation. Gy minus. Oh, did I go too far? Might have gone too far. Yeah. Don't need that last one. Can I X that one out? I go into tab. No, I have to push this down. I then have to tab. Can I? Here's a bit of editing. You can edit. Go to the dope sheet. I can do that. I can X those keyframes out. Go back to the nonlinear animation. Tab that. Control A just to set it. And now I've got that. Let's see how that works. So now we can export and build it in the sim, and we should have the gear, the parking brake, and the flaps working. So in the sim, what have we got here? Well, it looks like we've got the start of something. We have our landing gear, and our landing gear is down. That's a good sign. Our flaps are at the 50%. Oh, just flicked it down so I know the animation is working. And the flaps are going up, and the flaps are up. So if I put the flaps down again, the flaps will go to takeoff position. That's working. Parking brake. Oh, this is not good. Parking brake is on. That's really the off position. So I've got the animation reversed. It is working, but I think when I pull, it should be on. So the animation is in the run. So we'll just have to flip that around, same way I did the editing for deleting that keyframe. You go into the dope sheet and flip it around. But we have everything working. The only thing we don't have working is the last little bit is our multi-switch, which is our ignition switch, so our mag switch. Off, left, right, both, and start. So it's a multi-position switch, and we'll do that next. So the last thing we're going to do is a multi-stage switch, similar to what we did with the flaps. They had up, middle, down. The key was going to have a number of positions. It'll have off, left, right, both, and start. And the start part will be a momentary switch, meaning that it doesn't continuously remain on start. It goes back to both, spring-loaded. So we basically need to set that up. So that'll just be a rotation. And again, make the key a single object. Right now I made it mag key. So I, rotation, I, rotation, R, Y, first position, or sorry, second position, I, R, Y, next position, rotation, Y, another position, and then the start position. So we've set that all up. What do we need to do? We need to be able to find it. Oh, I forgot to talk about the flaps. Just make sure your flaps positions are set to 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, so at 3 positions. The interior, okay, that is the mags. Where are the mags? Oh, master switches. Oh, we don't have mags. We have these master switches. So we're going to have to go back to the Bonanza, and we're going to have to get the mags. Hopefully I'm going to mag switch. Switch magneto. Okay. Switch magneto is in the electrical components. So it's a little bit more complicated. It's got a lot more things that you have to set. So we're just going to copy this. It's engine number 1, the switch direction, horizontal, normalized time. That's probably for the starter, the direction. So off is position 1, right, left, both is 1, 2, 3. The timer, 3 seconds. A curved arrow, use the starter. So it has a lot of stuff that we need to be able to. We're just going to copy that because it's a pretty standard magneto switch. We'll put that in the electrical. So, master switches. Do we have an electrical? Yes, we do. Did I already do this? We have avionics, master, alternator. So we have a whole pile of things that I'm just going to dump this right at the top. Okay. There are things that we don't need in that yet because we don't have all those special features of a DA62. But I'm just going to put that in there. Save that. We'll have to go back because I need to know how they did the electrical. So the electrical magneto. That's in most likely electrical. So electrical, see if we can find the magneto. Oh, I get nothing. I go no mag in the magneto. So what have they done? Well, the problem with the things, it's one of the first things they did when they made the sim was the magneto. And the magneto is kind of tied to the engine. So if you do a search for the magneto, you will find, I think, in the engine area. So they have a magneto engine, and but what do we have? We have electrical. So we've got it called a Sobo electrical magneto. Look what they got in the engine. Should use that other thing. Got another mag. They have an engine switch magneto, and they have inside the engine template, they have electrical. So the electrical says use the engine switch one. So the electrical points to the engine one, and it says use legacy names. You know what? I'm not going to use it as a legacy item. I'm going to go directly to using the engine switch magneto. So instead of this with legacy names, I'm going to directly use this with an interaction switch. So let's go back, and I'm going to change that from electrical to engine. This is my own preference. If you're happy with the other thing, that's fine. And then back to the engine, just so that I know that this comes from the engine template. Let's do it this way again. Engine. So engine magneto uses engine magneto template. It uses that as a default of 1, uses engine magneto subtemplate. Engine magneto subtemplate. Then use legacy names. No, see, we're not using it. So the category is engine in my case. Look at the node names now. They have a category hashtag, interaction type hashtag, magneto ID. So craziness. So I have to name that in my Blender file to the proper naming. So _1, it is a switch. And it is a engine category. And I'm going to name the animation. Same. Save it, export it, and we'll see how it works in the sim. So now we have the key working, and I can tell it's magneto, and the magneto is set to both. I can turn the magneto to left, I can turn it to right, I can turn it to start, and it should, yes, it goes back. Don't start the engine when the engine is running. So I have my multi-switch working, and that's all we're going to do for today. We could do some breakers next time, but no, Uh, that we'll do that maybe when we do the electrical. We'll be doing the gauges in a future episode. We'll do the radios with the JavaScript type of displays. So we'll get into that in the future. But for now, we just have a majority of the aircraft running. We'll do the yoke and the pedals too. Oh, there's lots and lots and lots. So there's a compass to do. Yeah. Trim, I'm sure there's a trim, I think. Oh, the fuel. Forgot the fuel. Another fuel switch to do. So we have some fuel to do. Oh, there's a whole pile of things. This is going to be lots of parts to this interior innovation. Well, that's it. There you have it. I have more animations in our aircraft starting to work like a real one. You could probably play around and fly this thing somewhere. In our next episode, I'm going to divert a little bit. I'll get into the XML template programming. You saw me pull things out of nowhere to describe how things work. Where am I getting the names from, how they work. So let's delve very lightly into XML programming, and we'll see how all these templates work. And that will help you to understand, because most likely you might have some errors if you do this on your own, on building all of these levers and switches and dials. And it's good to have an understanding of the templates. So we'll do knobs and dials in the future. And we need to add some textures to these gauges. You see, I already started the altimeter, so we'll add some textures to the gauges in the futures, and we'll see. Well, good luck, and see you next time.